To truly understand this story, we must first go back, not to a sterile laboratory, but to the tobacco fields of rural Virginia. This is where Henrietta Lacks was born Loretta Pleasant in 1920. A vibrant, strong woman, known for her wide smile and painted red toenails, she was a wife and a mother of 5. Like many African-American families in the post-Depression South, the Lacks family worked the same land their ancestors had, facing systemic poverty and racial segregation. In 1941, seeking better opportunities, Henrietta and her husband moved to Turner Station, Maryland, a bustling community near Baltimore. Life was difficult, but filled with family, church, and community. But in 1951, everything changed. After the birth of her 5th child, Henrietta began experiencing severe pain and abnormal bleeding. She went to the only major hospital in the area that would treat Black patients, Johns Hopkins. There, she was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cervical cancer. During her radiation treatments, a surgeon took 2 tissue samples from her cervix, one from her cancerous tumor and one from healthy tissue nearby. This was done without her knowledge, without her permission, and without any explanation. It was standard practice at the time, especially for patients in public wards, who were often treated as research subjects without their consent. These samples were sent to the lab of Dr. George Gee, a prominent cancer researcher at Johns Hopkins. For years, Dr. Gee, like scientists all over the world, had been trying to achieve a scientific holy grail: to grow human cells continuously in a lab. Every attempt had failed. Cells would die after a few days or weeks. But Henrietta's cells were different. They didn't die. In fact, they did the opposite. They grew with a ferocious, unceasing energy, doubling their numbers every 24 hours. They were, for all intents and purposes, immortal. Dr. Gee named the cell HeLa, using the first 2 letters of Henrietta Lacks' first and last names, and a medical revolution was born. The impact of HeLa cells on science is almost impossible to overstate. They became the workhorse of cellular biology. In the 1950s, the world was gripped by fear of polio. Jonas Salk had developed a vaccine, but needed a way to safely test it on a massive scale before human trials. HeLa cells were the answer. They were the perfect medium to grow the polio virus and confirm the vaccine's effectiveness, paving the way for the eradication of the disease. But that was just the beginning. HeLa cells were essential in developing chemotherapy drugs for cancer, the very disease that took Henrietta's life in October 1951, just months after her diagnosis. She died at the age of 31, never knowing that a part of her was still alive and was about to become the most important tool in medicine. Her cells were shot into space by NASA to test the effects of zero gravity. They were used to understand viruses like measles, mumps, and HIV. They were fundamental to mapping the human genome, helping scientists determine that humans have 46 chromosomes. They were cloned, frozen, and shipped to labs all over the globe. An entire multi-billion-dollar industry of biotechnology grew from these cells, with thousands of patents and commercial products linked directly to them. Henrietta Lacks' biological material became a global commodity. For over 2 decades, her family knew nothing of this. They mourned their mother and struggled with poverty and a lack of access to health care, unaware that a piece of Henrietta was fueling medical miracles that were generating immense profits for corporations. The truth began to emerge in the 1970s, not with an apology or an offer of recognition, but with another scientific request. Researchers, wanting to learn more about the HeLa genome, tracked down Henrietta's children to take blood samples. The family was bewildered. They were told their mother's cells were alive and had been used in research, a concept they could barely comprehend. The encounter was confusing, distressing, and left them with more questions than answers. Imagine discovering, decades after your mother's painful death, that she is, in a way, still alive in labs all over the world, and everyone knew but you. The family felt violated and exploited. The cruelest irony was that while HeLa cells had generated billions for the medical establishment, her own children couldn't afford health insurance. The fight for justice was long and arduous, championed by Henrietta's children, especially her daughter, Deborah Lacks. Deborah embarked on a quest to understand the mother she barely knew and the immortal life of her cells. This journey was powerfully chronicled by journalist Rebecca Sklote in her best-selling book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, which finally brought this story of scientific triumph and ethical failure to a global audience. The book gave the Lacks family a voice and a platform. The ethical fallout intensified in 2013 when the full HeLa genome sequenced and published online by a European lab, again without the family's consent. This was a massive privacy breach, as it revealed sensitive genetic information not just about Henrietta, but about all of her living descendants. This act, though scientifically valuable, was a profound violation. This time, however, the scientific community responded differently. In a landmark agreement with the National Institutes of Health, NIH, the Lacks family was given a measure of control. 2 family members now sit on a panel that reviews applications for access to the full HeLa genome data. It wasn't financial compensation, but it was a monumental step towards recognition and restorative justice. It was an acknowledgement that the family had a right to be part of the conversation about their matriarch's legacy. More recently, in 2023, the family reached a confidential settlement with a major biotech company that had profited from HeLa sales, marking the first time the family received any financial recognition. Henrietta Lacks' story forced a reckoning in the world of medicine. It became a cornerstone of bioethics, leading to fundamental changes in law and policy, including the common rule in the United States, which mandates informed consent for all federally funded human subject research. Her story is a powerful, permanent reminder that behind every sample, every data point, and every scientific breakthrough, there is a human being. It forces us to ask critical questions. What do we owe the individuals whose bodies fuel scientific progress? How do we balance the quest for knowledge with the unassailable rights to privacy, dignity, and consent? And how do we begin to repair the deep-seated legacy of exploitation, particularly against marginalized communities who have historically borne the brunt of unethical research? Henrietta Lacks was a poor Black woman whose contribution was taken without her consent, but her legacy has given power, a voice, and protections to millions of patients who came after her. Her immortal cells saved the world. Her story may yet save our ethics. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. The story of Henrietta Lacks is complex, and we've only scratched the surface. What part of her story resonates most with you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story as powerful and important as we do, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for more stories that explore the intersection of science, history, and humanity. See you next time.